think we figured it out. Are you gonna play a song?
No, I don't see you. This is IG Live. Oh, yeah. Perfect.
I just saw myself. What's up, everyone? We'll let everyone get into the live. Sorry for the difficulties. This is actually our first time doing the Debrief live, so we're really excited about it. This is a franchise that quite literally comes from exactly what the U.S. Women's National Team is doing right now. After the game, you go in the locker room, you sit down, and you kind of air out all your feelings about the game. And then as soon as you leave the locker room, you leave it all behind you and you get ready for the next game. So we figured we'd bring a little bit of that tradition to this franchise, and it's been really fun. But this is the first time doing it live. And as you all know, things can get a little out of control sometimes. So it's really exciting. It's an exciting time for the U.S. Women's National Team. We just experienced the 2 send-off games. Just speaking from somebody that's played in a lot of send-off games, they're very awkward games. A lot of times you're not really wanting to give opponents a real big look at what you're gonna be like at a major tournament. But you're also trying to get out all the kinks. You're trying to get a lot of confidence. You're trying to get that connection, that cohesion between the group. And as we all know, this group hasn't had a lot of time with one another. So really, I think we are starting to figure out what this group is looking like, and it's really excited. On the Debrief, we like to start positive and we like to end positive. And the real positive in this one is this team is a lot of fun, dynamic. There was so much energy out there on the field. I think we're seeing a team that is showing great body language, great connection. They're really eager to learn. They're really eager to represent the U.S. Women's National Team in a big, big way. And I'm more excited about the U.S. Women's National Team than ever right now. I think we found a real strong leader in Emma Hayes, and it's really, really exciting. I know that you all love it when I get into the sports. I think we should go back, actually. So as everyone knows, this is the second game of 2 send-offs, and I was away on vacation for the first one, but I did watch it back. And I think it's really important to understand that these 2 opponents, obviously CONCACAF opponents, obviously 2 opponents that we've played, are really opponents that are set up to give us a lot of confidence, hopefully going into the tournament, and honestly not give us a whole lot of stress. The first game against Mexico was kind of a narrow margin win. Was a 1-0 margin win. And what I noticed in particular about that game that I was really stoked about, and you could see it again in today's game, is just the connection between Soph and Mal. I don't know if any of you guys are enjoying that connection. So much creativity, so much understanding of one another. You can see that they're really enjoying playing with one another. There's an interesting kind of mix of what's happening on the field for the U.S. Women's National Team. And not to get too soccer junky into this, but if you notice, on the right side of the field, you have a lot of numerical superiority. In the first game, especially with the triangle of Foxy, Rose, and Trin on that side, it was very dynamic. And you see that Lindsay, as kind of that more pivot 8, stays mostly in the center, and Rose kind of drifts out to the right-hand side, which then leaves the left-hand side very much with Jenna Knight-Swanger being able to really be prolific in the attack, and Mal almost given this really free creative role where a lot of times it looks like a 2-front between her and Mal, which that's when you get the best chemistry. And I think we saw that a lot in the Mexico game, which is really, really fun. And I don't know about any of you guys, and if you are all Mal fans here, but now just watching Mal play, having her healthy, just brings an absolute smile on my face. When I see her run with the ball, I'm just the world is a better place with Mal Pugh out on the soccer field for the U.S. Women's National Team. And I'm just so excited in particular to to see her at the Olympics. So having her flying is honestly so dangerous and so dynamic, and Emma Hayes really giving her that free role to really live in what we call seam 2, which is a seam between the back line and the midfield line. Being able to roam and be dynamic and link up is really, really fun. So that was cool. Other things. We have two of the most cerebral center backs in the game with Naomi Girma and Tierna Davidson. Like, we have a luxury of, like, we have a Rolls Royce pairing of a center back. And I'm so excited about it. I mean, Naomi Girma has been absolutely lights out for us for a while now. So dependable, so smooth. But really seeing now Tierna finally come back to full confidence, full fitness, absolutely flying. And what we saw again in this game today is her ability to break lines, her ability to pass beyond. And it was so exciting. Like, I was so stoked for it. And my favorite thing, especially against Mexico, was their ability to be super aggressive and step in defensively and win the ball higher up on the field. That dynamic pairing, I know that they're good friends and they get along really well, but I think the U.S. Women's National Team is in good hands, in smart hands with the pairing of Girma and Tierna, which is very, very exciting. I'm just going all positives. Boom, boom, boom. Should we go into more constructive things, you ask? Well, I will say, going back to the first game against Mexico, I was actually super impressed by Mexico. I thought that was the best I have seen Mexico in a long time. I think they actually posed a lot of questions for the U.S. Women's National Team, and it wasn't the most easy send-off game to any extent, which was a little bit concerning from kind of a matchup perspective, because as we know, even talking about the group that the U.S. Women's National Team is going into, we're talking about they're going to be playing Zambia, they're going to be playing Germany, they're going to be playing Australia. And this is the Olympics. It's not like the World Cup where you kind of get to mess around a little bit in the beginning. You get straight into it with the Olympics, and this group will pose many different challenges than especially was posed from Mexico and Costa Rica. And I really thought after the 1-0 game against Mexico, I really thought the U.S. was just going to go absolutely light out against Costa Rica. I think in particular, wow, struggling with that word today. In particular, what was really exciting about our ability to get into the final third. You know, I think Emma Hayes has been preaching this idea of, patience, like actually slow down a bit. Midfielders, stop running so much. Like, get into positional shape. Like, let's allow ourselves the patience to build up, to get our wingers, to get players into good positions on the field, to then be able to get into the attacking third in the best possible way. And what we're seeing is really that. We're getting into the attacking third over and over and over again. And after watching the Mexico game, where I actually found a lot of poor decision making in the final third, I was like, I'll watch the Costa Rica game and I'll take some notes in terms of how many times we get into the final third and what's actually breaking down when we get into the final third. And what I notice is, one, we get into the final third a lot, and I mean a ton, and that's very positive. I don't think it's necessarily realistic for really good teams, but it's super, super positive. But what happens after that? And there were at least 15 times in the attack when we had a promising attack, and that's 15 times. Granted, we didn't score any goals, so 15 times when we get into a really, really good positive goal scoring opportunity. And the two things that have been really shooting us in the foot over and over again in this game was our ability to pick out the right cross and the ability to pick out the right shot. And after choosing the wrong cross, which was honestly the cross that was just trying to be put in front of the goal, I think we should have stood up the ball a couple times to the back post. I think good old-fashioned chip to the back post would have done the trick. Actually just bypassing the first thing that you saw. And then also just a little patience. Our front three are absolute dynamics. due to poor connection, are absolute dynamite. And what we're seeing is like almost like they're so revved up in the final third that if they were just to be like, they would realize that their Costa Rica defender is down on the floor, unable to move. And they actually can just pause and pick out the right pass. And it's a simple thing. And I think we're just so revved up in the final third, which is a good feeling, right? We want to be excited to be there. That it's just that final decision making. And but like, look, I actually think it's a real positive in our last send-off game to have that feeling of kind of frustration, like all those chances. I think, and somebody can check the stats on this, but I think our worst performances in send-off games meant that we were going to have the best tournament. So if that's any indication, which I'm not sure it is, because I don't really have, the full scope on that. If that's any indication, I would say this U.S. Women's National Team is one to look out for in the Olympics. What to expect? Oh, you ask. What I'm so excited about is this is a fit, flying, fast, exciting, ran out of F words, team going into the Olympics. I am so excited. I'm going to be rooting them on like crazy. Expect this debrief to happen as soon as, the games finish at the Olympics, that we can get out. We can quite literally do the exact same thing as the team's doing together, talking about the game, talking about our feelings, and then moving on and continuing to cheer for the best team in the world. But now is the fun part where you all get to ask a few questions. And I know you're wondering what shirt I'm wearing and what poster is behind me. And these are our Olympic themed shirts and posters. And if you remember back to the dinosaur age of when Re-Ink was created, we came out with our first product, which was a t-shirt, and it said Liberté, Égalité, and Défendez. And that is exactly what we're doing again. We're going into Paris, and we are also celebrating our 5th anniversary with this awesome tee, which is literally the same exact tee, just reimagined. We came up with a new French slogan, Fight on, mon amour, vamos, I'm speaking anything but English, vamos, US Women's National Team. And we're very excited for that. If any of you all have any questions, I will take some questions now. Oh yes.
What about the recap show? Are we doing the recap show for the Olympics?
Oh, thank you so much for that question. From our guest audience here at the house, we got this incredible question. What is going to be happening with the recap show? The recap show will also be happening during the Olympics, which we're really excited about. We're going to have some awesome guests, and obviously everybody knows the conversations there are, bar none, the best conversations ever. We'll talk about the sports and everything going on at the Olympics. So thank you so much for your question. Any other questions in maybe the digital audience? I think actually, and I don't know if this was an actual question, but I think everybody was asking why Corbin came in the midfield instead of, say, a Jaden Shaw or someone else. And if you notice, what happened was it was more that Lindsay replaced the positioning of how Rose plays in the midfield than Corbin replacing Rose. So traditionally, Rose will play on the right hand side and Lindsay will play in the center, kind of supposed to be left, and then Sam's obviously playing as the 6. But what happened was obviously Rose picked up a knock. Hopefully she's okay. Please bubble wrap that little Rose, because actually Rose in this game would have totally unlocked all 15 chances and it could have been 13-0. But really what we saw was tinkering to see if Lindsay can play more of that 10 position. I actually think she had trouble like a little bit in the final third, almost like she was so close to the goal. She hadn't been that close to the goal in a while because she got a lot of chances. And I think it's kind of like more of keeping up with the pace of the front three that was just a little bit off because she hasn't played that role very much. And I think actually Corbin did a great job playing the role that Lindsay typically plays. But also, look, when you're trying to unlock a low block, Jaden Shaw is one of the very few players that has this really incredible way about her to unlock. It seems like I'm being pointed to a button that says 13. Let's see what's going on. Tobin. Okay, these are actually really cool questions here.
I think you can show them to everybody if you click on.
I can. Okay, let's look at this one. Kristen says, Tobin, what was your first AIM handle? For all of you kids out there who don't even know what AIM is, it was AOL Instant Messenger OG, and I was Soccer Junkie number, which I won't say because that's interesting. Still Soccer Junkie today. Thank you so much for your questions. Now, question hog. Oh, here we go. Let's look at this one. Is that Jen Bond 3? What's your idea midfield for the Olympics? I think it's exactly the one that we saw. I think it's Sam in the 6, Lindsay and Rose. If Kat Macario was healthy, she would put a very strong question mark in terms of what this midfield would look like. I think in a tournament like the Olympics where you actually need a lot of rotation, I think it's better to have more headaches and questions of selection than not. But I think that we saw that there is a little bit of an issue when Rose isn't playing in terms of what that midfield looks like. I think any day where Sam Coffey kind of gets lost in the game is a good game for the US Women's National Team, because that means she's doing her job really, really well. And I think she's found a really strong pairing with Lindsay Horan in that midfield. Okay, last question. Let's see who we got. Let's see. A lot of people asking this one. Ooh, this is a good one. This person knows me well. All right. Chaz or Chase something, 96744. How do you think our set pieces have improved or not? Okay. I think there were 13 corner kicks, but I cannot be sure, and we scored 0 of them. So I think that that's an indication of how we're doing offensively. Not good. We are an incredibly powerful, typically offensive team on set pieces against a team like Mexico. No disrespect to Mexico or to Costa Rica. These are teams that historically we have dominated on attacking set pieces. So that I'm a little bit worried about, although I do think that with Mao on service in particular, she did very well. Rose against Mexico did not do well, and I was actually quite surprised that Jenna Knightswanger didn't take the left-sided set pieces for those. So not really sure what's going to happen there, but I think missing Kat Macario again, we've lost a really, really strong set piece taker. And, you know, our midfield is a little bit smaller. We have less, and center back's a little bit smaller. So I think we have less actually targets for set pieces than we traditionally have had. So, hey, we got to figure out a different way to score goals, but I still think that we really should try to be dominant. Defensively, I've seen actually for the first time ever, the U.S. Women's National Team set up differently defensively. I don't know if anybody else noticed this, but for the longest time, I mean like a decade, you know, we've been playing a very zone on like a complete full zone on corner kicks. Now they're playing a bit of a hybrid of a half zone, half man and women, more women marking. And that's different. They haven't had a lot of time doing this. I don't know what that's going to mean for the team. Hopefully it means just more alertness because it's new ideas and fresh perspective. So let's hope defensively on the set pieces, that will be good. But thanks for asking because, you know, I love talking my set pieces. Anyways, this has been really fun. But again, we are going to be doing the Debrief Live. Just expect it. As soon as the U.S. Women's National Team finishes, boom, Debrief Live. Hopefully the tech is a little bit better than this first time, which is why we're doing a run through. But if you like it, jump into our membership. We debrief the debrief, which is awesome. Think Game of Thrones, after when they like kind of talk about Game of Thrones, because you just can't get enough of it. We do that for everything in Re-Inc. We recap the recap. We debrief the debrief. It's just a way that we can continue to have community around the things that we care about, which is the sports, the progress, and the equity. So thanks so much for tuning in, and see you next time for the first ever Olympic Debrief Live. Bye.
Yay!
I don't know how to end it. We'll just hang out.
Maybe the little X.